There's a great book called His Needs, Her Needs by Dr. Willard Harley Jr. He counseled thousands of couples. And what he did is he created a survey with thousands of couples, and he asked these couples what their greatest needs were. A man's top 5 needs often ranked in the woman's lowest 5 needs, and a woman's top 5 needs were in the lowest of a man's top 5 needs. You know that not meeting our spouse's needs creates a dangerous space, a vacuum in their life that somebody else can swoop into. Affection is the communication of care. You know, we're starting a new series today for the month of February. We like to talk about relationships in this time. And we're starting a new series, and it's called Relationship Goals. And we're going to be talking on relationships, but here's the thing. We want to talk about relationships, the whole scope of relationships. So we're going to talk to the married, the single, the potentially married. We want to talk to people. Maybe you've gone through divorce, parenting. We're going to cover it all. So don't tune us out if there's a moment you think, no, this isn't the message for me. I'm not in a relationship. If one day you're going to be in a relationship, you need to pay attention, all right? And all of us today are in a relationship. Maybe you're not married, maybe you're not dating, but you got friends. You may have kids. You have people in your life. And what I've learned is wherever we are, we can be better. We can be better. I've been married for 25 years, 25 and a half years. Yeah. The best 25 years of Shinobu's life. And that joke never gets old. I always get a laugh on that one. But we've been married for 25 years, but I'm still learning things. I'm still learning. I'm still improving. I still make mistakes. I'm still realizing how I can be a better husband. All of us in some way, I think in the world that we're living in now, all of us in some way have been touched by divorce. Maybe it's your parents have gone through it. It could be your siblings, your friends, but you've gone through divorce. You've felt the sting of divorce. And I want to help this morning as we kick this relationship series off, talk a little more towards the married people, if that's okay. But again, we can all learn. And let's have open hearts on how we can be better in our relationships with one another. All right? Now, I do have one I guess not warning, but just one sub-note to this. We are in Super Bowl next week, which half of you guys seem you didn't even care, because I guess your team's not in it. But ladies, if you bear with me today, because I'm going to use some sports analogies, all right? And I've heard people say, pastors, don't use sports analogies because you lose the women. But let me explain. Ladies, I'm using sports analogies because we really need the men to get it, all right? I think the men need to get it a little more this morning. I'm a man, so I'm part of that. And so I'm going to use that. Bear with me, and you're going to understand. I've been studying sports psychology. I've been studying up on that. And one of the things that I've learned in studying this is that the smaller the target, the better the chances you have of hitting the target. The smaller the target, the better. So we don't want to live life with broad targets. We want to make small targets. Larry in our church, he loves archery hunting. And we were talking about this in our men's group. And that's one of the things he said. When they teach the kids to shoot archery, they said, don't focus on the horns, right? You see a big rack of horns, you get excited. I want that animal. He said with the kids, oftentimes when they look at the horns, they hit the horns with the arrow rather than looking at the body. And not just the body, but a specific part, maybe even a hair, or you're locking in. You want the smallest target, because the smaller the target, the more chances you have at hitting it. You know, when you think about our minds and the way that we think, when you decide, I'm going to buy this car, I want this purse, I want this pair of shoes, I want these jeans, or whatever it is that you start thinking that you want, don't you notice that you start seeing it everywhere? You might have never noticed it before, but all of a sudden you see the car. All of a sudden you see everybody with the bag that you wanted to buy. You see everyone with the watch that you were looking to buy. And here's the reason why. It was always there, but you just didn't put it into your mind's eye. And the moment you put it into your mind's eye, you begin to recognize everywhere you see. You recognize what you begin to think about. And I think in our relationships, there are too many relationships that are simply filled with good intentions. Okay, this could be with your friendships, it could be in dating, it could be in your marriage, it could be in your family, with your parents, with your kids. We have a lot of good intentions of what kind of friends we want to be or what kind of relationships we want, but there's really a lack of follow through. There's a lack of action, and that brings a lack of results in our relationships. So here we are going, big sports season, Super Bowl, the Final Four, the Masters, all these things coming up. So I'm going to start. You guys know I like golf, all right? I talked about it last week. You guys know I like golf. So we're going to start with this short clip. Put this clip. This is Devin, right? Devin's a great golfer. So this was last year, a year ago, February. We're in Scotland. This is St. Andrews, the oldest golf course in the world. The 18th hole, Devin tees off, hits a great tee shot. And, all right, enough of Devin. Put me on now. I just had to show Devin first. You can't be all about me, but this is me. I'm on the 18th hole, St. Andrews. Hit it straight down the fairway. All right, so you can leave this clip up. No, you can put that clip back on. Okay, well, you guys get to watch it again. Shucks. Watch me again hit it right down the fairway. All right, just leave that clip right there. Now, as you look at this, you get up to the tee, and we had caddies with us when we golfed this course. And what a caddy does is they not just carry your clubs, they tell you where to hit, where to putt, where to do that. And you could look at this, and it's easy to get up on the tee box and to think, all right, don't hit the cars that are parked on the side, because I saw cars get hit. I could think, don't hit the buildings on the right. I could think, well, just hit it straight down the middle. It's all grass. Just get it in the middle. Don't hit it in the creek over there. Hit it straight down. But when we got there to hit, the caddies gave us a target. It wasn't just the big grass. Let's show the target that they had. When you look at the old hotel, that big building. All right, next one. This is what they told us. You're going to aim for the top of that. You guys see the very top, that one line. They said, this is your target. So when you get up to the tee box, you could say, I just want to hit it down the middle. And everyone would say, well, that's a great target. They would say, no, don't hit it down the middle. That's a great target. But that's a big target. They would say, oh, I just hit it on this part of the grass. No, they said, no, you're going to look at that specific line. That specific line, that's what you want. Let's look at the basketball hoop. We got the picture of the basketball hoop. The free throw, as I was reading about what the sports psychologist talks about, in free throws, it's not just getting up to the line and saying, aim for the backboard. Now, that's great if you hit the backboard, right? It's better to hit the backboard than to have an air ball. But it's not just the backboard. It's not just the box. They're not even saying, aim for the rim. He says, when I talk to my players, put that next shot up, I am telling them to look at the rung, the little rung on the rim that the net is saying. I want them to focus on that little thing with everyone around that's screaming and going boo and waving signs. You're going to focus on that little target. You see, the smaller the target, the better chance you have of hitting that target. So you think about that, right? Did I have to show you those videos? No, I didn't. But am I happy you watched them? Yes, I am. All right. But here's the point. Here's the point. When we come into this new year, it's easy to have big targets, right? You come into January and you say, I'm going to get in shape this year. You know what everyone will say? No one will say, that's a dumb thing. They'll be like, wow, that's great. That's good. But that's a big target, right? You can come into this new year and say, wow, I want to have a better relationship with my wife or my husband or with my family or with my parents. Again, that is a big target. And people won't say that's a bad thing, but it's just a big target. So I want to challenge you. It's not just saying, I want to spend more time with my wife. How many know that you can even make it a smaller target, right? You could say, I'm going to go with my husband once a week. We're going to go and have a cup of coffee together once a week for 1 hour, and we're going to talk. What did you do? You made a smaller target. But I know you can even make it smaller than that. You can say, I'm going to go with my wife every Saturday at 7 a.m. We're going to go to this particular coffee shop, and we're going to take 1 hour, and we're going to catch up on the week. Now, what did you do? You made a very small target. Just like in sports where they teach the professional athletes to do this. Does it mean that you're going to hit the target all the time? No. But what they found is that there is a much greater chance of you hitting the target when you have a target. There's a greater chance when you write down and you pencil things in. Just not, I'm going to get in shape. But I'm going to go to the gym every Tuesday and Thursday at 5:30 a.m. and work out for an hour. There's a much greater chance when you put it down, when you get it into your mind's eye, that you're going to hit the target, that you're going to hit the goal. And when I think about our relationships today, I think there's just so much big goals and big targets that we're aiming for, when really if we just make things a little smaller, we'd be better at hitting it and not just drifting through life. Not just I want to be closer with my parents. No, I'm going to meet with my parents once a week. Not just, we're going to have family dinners this month, but no, every Sunday at 6 p.m., we're going to have a family dinner together. What are you doing? You're making smaller targets, specific targets, but you'll be much more effective in hitting those goals. And so, as we look at marriage today, what are some of the smaller targets? I want to talk to you about a couple of smaller targets that you could have in your relationship. And again, maybe you're not married, but if you might be one day. So listen up and learn. If you are in a relationship and you're struggling, you think, well, I can't learn anything new, it's too late for us. No, we can all get better. I heard this story that this guy opened up a store in New York, and it was a husband store. It was where women could go to shop for a husband. Now, they had a couple of rules when you would get this, and there were instructions. You could only visit the store once in your life. You could only go one time. And there were 6 floors. The value of product increased as you went up every floor. But on going up a floor, you could never go back down a floor except to exit the store. So once you went up, you could never go back. And so with those rules in mind, a woman goes into the husband store to find a new husband, and she gets to the first floor, and there's a sign, and it says, men that have jobs. Oh, that's a good thing when you find a man with a job. All right, single girls, if you just got a boy that just sits around and play video games, you better go find a man. And by the way, next Sunday, my wife is going to be speaking, and she's going to be talking on some of that and in dating and going into relationships for single, divorced people. She'll be sharing that. So this woman's intrigued, but she says, I wonder what's at the next floor. So she goes up to the next floor, floor 2, and there's a sign, and it says, men that have jobs and love kids. Oh, no, that's even better. She goes, that's nice, but I want more. So she goes up to the 3rd floor, and it says, men that have jobs, love kids, and are extremely good looking. Wow, she thinks. But she's compelled to go to the next floor. She gets to the 4th floor, and it says, men that have jobs, they love kids, they're drop dead good looking, and they help with housework. She goes, oh my goodness, I can't hardly stand it. I got to go to the next floor. She gets to the 5th floor. It says these men have jobs. They love kids. They're drop dead gorgeous. They help with housework, and they have a strong romantic streak. She's tempted to stay, but she says, I got to see what the 6th floor is. She gets to the 6th floor. It's completely empty. There's just a sign that says, you are visitor 34,610,019. This floor solely exists to show that a woman can never be satisfied. Now, to avoid gender bias charges, the owner of the store opened up a wife shopping store right across the street, 6 floors, the same room. Guy walked in. The first floor says, women who love sex. He went up to the second floor. It said, women who love sex, they have money and love when their husbands go out with their friends. And needless to say, no one's been to floor 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, it's just a joke, so don't get mad at me. Don't send me an email. Don't call me up. Facts. Just a joke. But it's a joke to highlight this fact that men and women are different. We're different. And society, I mean, we're in this place where we want to try to make that men and women are the same and anybody can be a woman. No, we're different, all right? God has made us different, and it's a beautiful thing. That's why Ephesians 22 says, wives, submit to your husbands. That was the instruction. And then in Ephesians 5:25, husbands, love your wives. 2 separate set of instructions. It wasn't a cookie cutter instructions that says, this is all you need. No, we had specific instructions for men, specific instructions for women. It's like having a recipe for corn chowder and prime rib. Completely different. The only thing they have in common is their food, but they're completely different. And men and women, we're completely different. There's different instructions, and we have different needs and different wants, and God has wired us different, and it's beautiful when 2 different people come together. Now, often the failure of a man to meet a woman's need in emotional needs is simply due to ignorance of each other's needs. It's not that they're selfish or they're unwilling to be considerate. They're just not conscious of it, because often our needs are the most important needs. There's a great book called His Needs, Her Needs by Dr. Willard Harley Jr. He counseled thousands of couples. And what he did is he created a survey with thousands of couples, and he asked these couples what their greatest needs were. The top 10 most important needs. And what he found is this, that a man's top 5 needs often ranked in the woman's lowest 5 needs, and a woman's top 5 needs were in the lowest of a man's top 5 needs. And I think that probably wouldn't shock us. It's a great book. I encourage you to get the book and read it. I don't have time to go over all 10, but what I want to do today is highlight the top 2 things that men and women need in their life. Now, as a side note, these results apply to the majority, but there are some couples where it might be flipped. And if that's you, just be honest when you realize, you know what? No, that's not my husband, that's me. And just put yourself in that situation, all right? So I might be talking to husbands, but just be honest and say, no, yeah, that's me. Put yourself there and receive what you got. So what they found is that the number one thing that a woman cannot do without in her life and in her relationship is affection. Every woman needs affection. And it consistently ranked in the top number 1 thing that a woman said she needed in her life. Now, here's where the difference comes in. What a guy couldn't do without, what every man needed in their life, the number 1 thing, I don't know if you guys can guess it, but it was sexual fulfillment. Sexual fulfillment. So I think this is what one of the problems would be. Is when a guy hears that, they would say, well, what's the difference? What's the difference? Affection. I just slapped her bottom in the hallway last night and said she looks hot. I'm grabbing her all the time. Why wouldn't she have the affection that she needs? Which, as a side note, I will say, husbands, your wife they don't enjoy you grabbing them all the time. And as another side note, wives, your husband will enjoy you grabbing him all the time. Okay? Oftentimes, what one person does is what the other person wants. Now, we get back to this. What is affection? So I want to give you a definition of affection. Pay attention, men. This is affection, all right? It's not grabbing. It's not that. Affection is the communication of care. It's the communication of care. So to most women, Affection will symbolize security, protection, comfort, approval, and these are vitally important commodities in their eyes. It has nothing to do with sex. Affection, it has nothing to do with sex. It's that security, care. When a husband shows his wife affection, you know what you're saying? I care about you. You're important to me. I don't want anything to happen to you. I'm concerned about the problems you face, and I'll try to help you overcome them. Do you know that a simple hug can communicate any of those things? And we can underestimate what giving a hug to our wife, a non-sexual hug. Again, it's not a sexual thing. And I would say this too, that dads, you need to show affection, that you care, not just to your wife, but to your daughters. Let them know you care, love on them, hug them, speak words that affirm them and secure them. Let them hear that from you. You know, the typical woman or wife can hardly have enough affection in their life. In fact, they're starved for it. These are words and touch that communicate, I care. And guys, don't confuse affection with sex. If your goal is only sex, then you're going to confuse it. We want these actions that are filling our wives' tanks. You know, men, when they talk about why they want sex, he would ask, why is that your number one thing? Why is that the number one thing? And you know what the answer was? I just need to satisfy the urge. See, there's a need for affection that fills your tank. You know, for men, the sex is a physical thing. It's a physical urge that they have, and that's why men want to satisfy that urge. And men will very rarely turn down sex. Now, it happens once in a blue moon. But men, they can be angry and they'll still have sex. Right? Oh, don't touch me, stay away. Okay. Doesn't take much. Whereas a woman could be totally shut off. Now, there are times when men can have offense. And I've noticed in some relationships, especially where the wife's personality might be a little stronger, that men will keep that. They'll starve that because they're like, oh, that's one thing I can keep. And again, that's not healthy. But for the most part, that's where men are. There's an urge. Now, it's not that women don't enjoy sex, but they do it for a different reason. It's not just a physical thing. The reason they'll do it is because they want intimacy and they want emotional connection. So it's not that women don't enjoy it, but they want the connection. And oftentimes what we miss as men is that when we give our wives affirmation, that can open the door to emotional connection. If she feels emotionally distant with you, then she's not going to want to make love with you. So Dr. Willard Harley says this: affection should be the environment of marriage, while sex is the event of marriage. We don't want to live in an environment of sex. Really, the environment should be affection, where we're expressing affection to one another. We're reassuring one another in our relationship. And then in our marriage, sex is a byproduct of that. Dr. Harley found, in, again, his counseling with thousands of couples, that most affairs start due to a lack of affection for the wife and a lack of sex for the husband. She doesn't get affection, so she shuts off sex. He doesn't get enough sex, so the last thing he feels is to be affectionate. You know that not meeting our spouse's needs for whatever reason, even if our spouse might be a jerk at times, not meeting their needs creates a dangerous space, a vacuum in their life that somebody else can swoop into. And these are dangerous moments when we have these spaces. You know, the only way out of a destructive cycle, I want you to hear this, the only way out of that cycle of people say, well, you don't give me what I want, I'm not going to give you what you want. Well, you're not giving me that, then I'm not going to give you that. And that cycle continues. The only way out of that cycle is for someone to break it. And I've sat with couples where I've simply said, someone, I know it sucks. I know you guys are having a hard time. I know you guys don't really like each other, but someone needs to be the adult in this situation and decide that they're going to break the cycle. takes two people to have a cycle. If one person breaks the cycle, it breaks the cycle. And someone has to decide that they're going to break the cycle. So when you go back, think about this. Go back to what we talked about in the beginning, right? For husbands, you could sit here, you could feel convicted, and you could say, you know what? Evan's right. I'm going to love my wife better this year. It's February. It's the month of love. I'm going to love her better. How many know that's a big fairway goal? I'd say this, make a smaller goal. Think of a smaller goal in your life. It could be something of affection. Honey, all right, honey, I'm going to give you a hug and a kiss every morning before we leave for work. That's what I'm going to do. I want to show you affection. I want to let you know that I care. Every morning before I leave to work, I'm going to give you a hug and a kiss. And if I forget, please remind me to do that. I mean, that's an important thing. Wives, don't be, oh, well, if he doesn't know by now, I'm not going to tell him. If he doesn't get it by now, I'm not going to say anything. And then you just go through your whole day angry. Your whole day. You are your husband's best coach for affection. You're walking together. Oh, he doesn't hold my hand. He doesn't hold my hand anymore. If he doesn't hold my hand by now, I'm not going to say anything to him. And you get in the car angry, you're mad. Well, reach out and grab his hand. I would say that 9 out of 10, he will hold your hand. And if he doesn't, then come see us, okay? But reach out and grab his hand. And I'll tell you, as a man, I never am walking with my wife thinking, I don't want to hold her hand. I'm just thinking about something else. I'm not wired that way. And if she says, hold my hand, I will hold her hand. And so you are the best coach. And these little goals that you could make, it could be anything. This is just an example. I'll give you a hug and a kiss. I'm going to let you know how much I care for you, not because I want sex, but because I care for you and I want you to have a good day. I want to be affectionate. And again, if I'm not doing it, remind me to do it. See, it's important that we use communication. Communication is going to be the only way that we navigate through our problems. And likewise, women, don't hold your body hostage from your husband. You are where he's going to get his number one greatest need. You want to be where he gets that from, his sexual fulfillment. And however that looks like for you, we have friends that this is how they do it. They actually schedule on their calendar what day of the week or what days of the week they're going to be intimate on. If you need to do that, do that. Be intentional. Put it on the calendar. Put the reminder. Have Siri let you know. I mean, I don't know, however that works. Have it happen. If that's what you need to do, it has to be that important. But you break the cycle. It's important. Here's the number 2 thing that a woman can't do without. She can't do without intimate conversation. Intimate conversation. And the thousands of women that he surveyed, intimate conversation was the second most important thing. And for men, this might shock you, but what most men said that he cannot do without is recreational companionship. Doing things together. That's what men need. So intimate conversation, when you say, well, what is intimate conversation? Like, can I tell you what intimate conversation is to a woman? It's simple. Details. Details. That's what women want to hear. Details. No matter what. It doesn't have to just be limited to your wife. I talked to my mom. She wants details. Women like to know the details. And that's why women can get together for hours. They can literally sit around. My wife could go out with ladies for hours. And I think it's amazing. They can sit there for hours and talk and cry and hug on each other, grab each other's hands, and then laugh and then cry. And they can do these things for hours. Sometimes they say, oh, how'd it go? Oh, yeah, we talked and she told me about this. And then she started crying. And there's this and there. And I'm just saying, thank God I wasn't there. It's torturous. Wow. That's details, right? Men, we can be sad. We go see our friend. How you doing? I'm good. You good? I'm good. All right. They just had a fight with their wife on the way. They slept on the couch that night before. I'm good. All right, let's go. I mean, we're different. God has made us different. It's not that we need to learn to open up more, men, but we're different. And so my wife, over the course of our 25 and a half years together, I can't tell you how many times she's been upset at me because I've told her a story and I just give her the bullet points. I give her what I think's the most important things. And then she hears about it later, a different version of the story, and she'll come back to me upset. Why didn't you tell me these things? Why didn't you tell me about that? And I'm like, why would you even want to know about that? Right? My wife would tell me stories at times where, hey, let me tell you about this thing that happened. And, like 3 minutes in the story that we're going this way, we're now out in right field. And she's telling me about a whole nother thing. And I said, baby, don't get mad at me. But I need you to get back on point because you're losing me right now. I don't care what happened here. I'd like to hear about what you told me you were going to tell me about. I don't need the side story that has nothing to do with that story. I'm different. She's different. Things I tell her, hey, we're going to do this at the house. I'm just letting her know, and I get 20 questions with answers that she will not even understand. Why do you even want to know about it? And I'm like, dear Lord, I'm sorry I even told you. She wants details. Women need details. When they ask about your day, they want to know everything about your day. Not just what bad thing happened on your day, how did you feel? How did you feel when your boss told you that? And for us as men, that's hard because they're trying to, remember the old switchboards with the operators? Like for men, it's hard because now they want you to make some connections that you haven't made in 20 years to these emotions. How did you feel? Were you okay? Did it hurt your feelings? Because we're not wired. That's intimate conversation. They want the details. So get this. In the beginning, what was one of the centers of your budding relationship when you were dating? Conversation. You told her everything. You asked her questions. You wanted to know the details. You want to know what was happening. You told her you told her whatever you could because you're trying to keep her on the phone as long as you could. You kept talking. And she was like, oh my gosh, this guy is amazing. I just love him. I mean, we just talk for hours and hours. He was who I've always been looking. I feel closer to him than to my girlfriends. And you just had great conversation. You were trying to learn more about who she was because you wanted to know how you could be more attractive to her, how you could love her, to know every detail about her life. And then you come to the decision that you're going to marry her, the greatest sign of your love for her, and you're going to marry her, and then you get married. And now that you're married, you just think, well, I've proven my love for her. We don't need to have the conversations it's not as important as it used to be. It's not as pressing. And men, what we fail to realize, right, listen to this, is that it was intimate conversation that actually fueled her love for you. And now you're taking that out of the equation, the intimate conversation. And we don't realize how important that is to a woman. And that's why I always say a woman can fall in love with a toad if the toad says the right words. I'm not bashing women when I say that. Don't get me wrong. Princess and the Frog. Man, you fall if the toad says the right things. And you know it, right? You know somebody that had an affair with and you're like, ooh, she cheated with him? Her husband's way better looking. It had nothing to do with looks. He came in and he said the right words and he filled the vacuum. See, if we're not meeting these needs, we get into a different place and realize that there are men and women out there on the prowl who would love to get into your marriage. Men and women that are so desperate, they're doing the right things because they want a relationship. And if it means destroying your marriage so they can get you, they'll do it. And what Dr. Willard Harley found is that even though affairs start and you feel excited and you have hope, they almost always end the same way your first relationship did. Because if you don't change who you are, you go back. And the problem is still the problem. And I'll tell you this, it's 100 times easier to fix the marriage you're in than to try and find a new relationship. How many women have been led astray by a sweet-talking man? You should never have intimate conversation with anyone of the opposite sex. You want to make sure that you're guarding your heart. Now, okay, men, you're going to flip out. You're going to hate that you came to church this morning when I say this. All right? But just bear with me. Binnell's on the piano. We're going to end. All right? This is what Dr. Harley found in his research. Okay? This is what it's in his book. His needs, her needs. Go get it. All right, how much time should a couple set apart every week for intimate conversation? This is what he found, all right? He said you should set at least 15 hours a week. That's 2.1428 hours a day. Intimate conversation a week. And I just think it's fair if you can get 15 hours of sex a week, 15 hours of conversation, all right? I don't know. That's what he says, but this is what I want you to do. Don't freak out. We're just talking about smaller targets. If you're spending 0 hours a week in intimate conversation, how many know that 30 minutes a week is better than nothing? Just set a goal and get started somewhere. In conversation, don't make demands, don't be disrespectful, don't express anger, don't dwell on mistakes. You won't be able to have intimate conversation if you do those things. Do these things, inform one another, investigate, understand, develop an interest in each other's favorite topics. Maybe you could care less about it, but you know that your spouse loves those things. It's like when you were dating. Do the same thing. Learn about those things. Balance the conversation. Give undivided attention. You know, in sports, and again, even in golf, you could have a hot streak or baseball or whatever, where you just play what they would call, you just played out of your head, out of your mind. It's like your best. And people look at that, they're like, wow, I can't believe what you're doing right now. It's a freak. No, you know what an athlete displays at that moment? He's displaying his greatest potential that he has in his life. And I think about in marriage, you know, when we were dating, you know what we did in dating? We displayed the greatest potential, our greatest potential. We talked for hours. We'd buy each other gifts. When we were dating, our greatest potential, they would do things that would irritate us, and we just kept our mouth shut. We just let it go. Oh, no, I still love them. I'm not going to say anything. You were so gracious. You were so kind. And then we get married, and we just want to rip each other's head off. You had the greatest potential. If you did it then, you can do it again. I'm telling you, you can do it again. You can do it again. We'll never understand men will never understand a woman's need for intimate conversation, but likewise women, you will never understand what companionship or brotherhood can do for a man. It's something that men need. It fills his tank. That's why you could ask your husband, hey, I need this fixed in the house. Like, oh, I'm kind of tired. I'll get it done, though. I'm going to do it. I'm tired. And then his friends call up like an hour later. They're like, hey, we're all going to go play basketball. We're all going fishing. We're all going to go surfing. He's like, oh, shoots, I'm coming. And then you're leaving out. He's like, what do you mean? I thought you was tired. No, I feel better. And you go. It's companionship. We'll drop everything to hang out with the boys. It fills our tanks. You know what he found, Dr. Willard found, is that so many women would do activities with their boyfriend. You know, they'd sit and watch the football. They didn't even like football, but they'd sit and watch the football game because they wanted to be with him. They'd play tennis because they wanted to be with him. They'd say they like this or they like that because they liked it and they just wanted to be with him. And then they get married and then they decide, you know what? I don't really like doing that. Let's do something different. And it kind of rocks a man's world. So ladies, I want to tell you this. Your husband's number one recreational companion should be you. So some couples here this morning, you need to discover what you can do together, what activity you could do together that you can both enjoy. And it's important. And men, it's not that you have to do everything with your wife. You still should get out and do things with the boys. But wives, don't just think like, just go do it with your husband. Just go do it with the boys. Go do it with your friends. No, you need to do things together because a man needs that. You got to be a companion. You may not like hunting, but maybe once in a while, go out with him on a hunt. Just go for the walk and just cheer him on. Just hype him up. Hype him up. Get his ego blowed up. Maybe you don't like golf. Go out, just drive the golf cart for him. And just say wow a lot. Wow. Wow. Oh. Oh. Wow, was it supposed to go in the water twice? Wow, right? You just wow. Maybe you don't like yard work. Get out in the yard with it. That's what he likes. Help him once in a while. Just compliment him. Wow, this yard looks amazing. You're doing a good job. Maybe you don't like fishing. Just go with him. Sit with him as he fishes. Don't underestimate how much that would do for him having you there with him. And ladies, I would say you will probably be surprised at the amount of intimate conversation that can happen when you step into his world and you do things together that he likes. You'll be surprised the conversations that you can have. One of the things we started doing back in December, we started walking a lot. And we realized we both enjoy going for walks. And we'll walk down to Bayfront. We walk to Coconut Island. We just walk all over. And as we walk, I found this. It gives us something to do. We're doing something. We can't be distracted. We can't be on our phones. And we walk. We're exercising. And yet the whole time we're having great conversation. We are talking the whole time. We might go out in a group with people and different people at different times. And it's just a great way. My wife and I will go for a walk and we're communicating and we're talking about things as we do something together. You got to break the cycle. We need to change the mindset. If mindset matters in church, if it matters in sports, if it matters in business, why doesn't mindset matter in our relationships also? So what are some smaller goals that you can set in intimate conversation? Set a time every week. What are some goals in recreational companionship where you could say, all right, we're going to do this once a week, whatever it is, pickleball, tennis, basketball, we're going to do something together. Go for a hike. What we'll do, whatever you want to do, let's find something that we can both enjoy and we'll get out and do that together. When you fill your spouse's tank, you'll find that they'll fill your tank. It's an amazing thing. When you drain their tank, they'll drain your tank. Somebody needs to break the cycle. And I hope that we can rise above those things today and break the cycle in our relationships and have healthy marriages that are affair-proof, relationships that can really make a difference.